I have a disease that makes me only speak the truth. On the day of my grand wedding with Chi, he looked at my blushing face, lightly brushed the stray hairs from my forehead, and said in a gentle tone, "My lady, don't be afraid, I'll be gentle." I wanted to nod shyly and say I wasn't afraid, but who knew that when I opened my mouth, it came out as, "Don't dilly-dally, just come on." I transmigrated into this world from the womb, the legitimate daughter of Duke Xiangyong, the great general who assists the state. My mother is also from a prestigious family. All in all, I was born into a very good family. At the age of 4, I was chosen to be the study companion for the much-adored third princess, and began my studies with the princess in the imperial study. It was also there that I met Chi. Chi was the heir of the Duke of Jin's estate and the crown prince's study companion, 9 years old at the time. At a young age, his looks were already extremely outstanding, making him stand out from the crowd of little brats, and he was successfully targeted by me. Back then, I took advantage of my young age and often followed at his heels, stretching out my hands for a hug, calling him Brother Yi over and over, leaving him utterly defenseless, lying in the arms of a beauty. I was incredibly happy. My idea was very simple. I was already a salted fish, and since I was born here, I'd have to marry sooner or later, so I might as well have a grand ideal, pick the best-looking one, and train him well, and Chi Yi was the best-looking one in the entire capital city. From then on, I became Chi Yi's little tag-along, or maybe it was the other way around. I'd get into trouble, and he'd take the blame for me. I wanted to eat the fruit on the trees, and he'd climb up to pick it for me. I wanted to eat the little shrimp in the river, and he'd roll up his pants and go in to catch them. I didn't want to copy books, so he'd imitate my handwriting and copy them for me. He was so good to me, so good that even big sister Chi-ying would get jealous. Chi-ying is Chi Yi's biological younger sister, and also my childhood playmate. When I was 12, I received an invitation from the Duke of Jin's residence to attend big sister Chi-ying's comingafage ceremony. After the ceremony was over, I didn't see Chi-yi, so I wandered around the Duke of Jin's residence by myself and accidentally overheard his conversation with the eldest princess in the back garden. "Chi-yi, why are you unwilling to be my prince consort? If you want to become a court official, I'll just tell Father Emperor to let me marry down to you." The eldest princess held a long spear horizontally in front of Chi-yi, blocking him in the pavilion. Chi-yi's tone was indifferent. "Thank you for your favor, Your Highness, but this humble one believes that a marriage requires mutual affection. Otherwise, I'm afraid it would ruin Your Highness' life." The eldest princess frowned and asked, "Then what kind of person do you like?" I don't know if it was my imagination, but Chi seemed to glance in my direction, then looked at the long spear in the eldest prince's hand and said, "This humble one likes the delicate type, wouldn't you know it?" Just then a big black rat suddenly scurried past me, scaring me so much I jumped up right on the spot. "Who's there?" The eldest princess rushed in front of me in an instant, pointing a long spear at my neck. Geez, that thing was incredibly sharp. I didn't dare to move at all, and this wasn't the first time she had pointed a long spear at me like this. Once, on a very cold day, she pushed the third princess into a pond, causing the third princess to suffer a persistent high fever and become a simpleton. Back then, she had also pointed her long spear at me just like this, telling me not to tattle. I agreed readily at the time, but the very next day, I ran and told Her Majesty the Empress, why should the evildoer get to live free and easy, while the victim has to suffer for the rest of their life? His Majesty the Emperor and the Empress were furious, and wanted to strip her of her title and take away her fiefdom, but the noble consort pleaded desperately, and the matter was hastily concluded with 20 strokes of the board and a year of confinement for self-reflection, and the noble consort, for her failure in discipline, was demoted to Consort Lin. I didn't think too much about why His Majesty the Emperor and the Empress believed me as soon as I spoke. I only knew that the innocent and kind third princess, whose life should have been vibrant and brilliant, was gone forever. From then on, the eldest princess and I had a grudge against each other. Thinking about what Chi just said, I immediately squeezed out a few tears for him. "Brother Yi, Her Highness the Princess is so mean. I'm so scared." Chi played along and pulled me behind him. "Gigi is timid. I hope Your Highness will take pity on her." The eldest princess watched his action, furious. "You dare protect her?" Chi ignored her, pulling me to the pavilion. "The sun is strong outside, don't get burned." And I quietly made a silly face at the eldest princess. "Piss you off, ya bitch." Humph. This action was clearly pouring oil on the fire in the eldest princess' heart, making her anger flare up with a whoosh. She shoved me to the ground, grabbed the tea from the table, and splashed it on my face. Caught off guard, I fell to the ground, even scraping my hands a bit. but as the tea splashed on me, I clutched my injured hand, slightly tilted up my glistening face, and looked up pitifully at Chi. "Ah, it's so cold." The eldest princess was dumbfounded at the sight. "It's the middle of summer, what are you pretending for?" But who could refuse a chai subin? Chi was indeed a little annoyed, and he spoke with suppressed anger. "Today is my little sister's comingafage ceremony. I hope the eldest princess will give the duke's mansion some face and not cause any trouble. Gigi is injured, I'll take her to apply some medicine. Please forgive me for not keeping you company." Then he picked me up by the waist and carried me towards his courtyard. I took the chance to wrap my arms around his neck and continued to make funny faces at the furious grand princess behind us. "Su Qingji, you just wait. Qi, I will definitely make you my prince consort." She kept shouting a bunch of other stuff, but I was no longer in the mood to listen. After all, this is the first time Qi has given me a princess carry. Hee, so happy. I leaned weakly against his shoulder and asked in a low voice, "Yi Gij, will you marry a princess?" "I want." He answered decisively. "Then will you marry me?" His steps paused for a moment, and then I heard a young man's clear, crisp laughter from above my head. "Gigi, you're still young, don't think about these things yet." 12 years old is indeed still very young, but Qi is already 17, and the Duke and Duchess of Jin are probably going to rush him to get married. Thinking of this, I secretly tightened my arms around his neck. "Yi Gij, will you wait for me to grow up then?" "Okay." He didn't answer me. I looked up at him, as if making a promise. "I'm very delicate." He chuckled again and said softly, "Okay." No one would have thought that this delicate persona would be maintained for nearly 6 years before I could marry into the Duke of Jin's residence as I wished. Today is my and Chi's wedding day. I've lusted after him for a long time, and the corners of my mouth upturned under the red bridal veil are harder to suppress than an AK right now. After all the procedures were done, he looked at me, my face flushed crimson, gently brushed aside the stray hairs on my forehead, and said in a gentle tone, "My lady, don't be afraid, I will be gentle." I wanted to nod shyly and say I wasn't afraid, but who knew that when I opened my mouth, it came out as, "Stop dilly-dallying, just come on." My eyes widened, I slapped a hand over my mouth, my toes cringed so hard they could carve out a 3-bedroom apartment. Omo, what is going on? My meticulously crafted persona of a frail, pitiful damsel in distress. Chi was stunned for a moment, then the corners of his mouth curled up. "Since my lady is so impatient, then I, your husband, must naturally satisfy you." The end of his sentence carried a hint of a smile, like a feather, tickling my heart. As he spoke, he lowered the bed curtains. As the Buddha says, cannot be said, cannot be said. After a long time, I heard Qi ask me, "Gigi, are you alright?" In the heat of the moment, I dazedly looked up at him. He was extremely handsome, his refined and delicate features now tinged with a blush. It was simply seducing me. Wanting to be a little more reserved, my mouth was much faster than my brain. "I can take it. I can totally take it." His gaze darkened. The next day, as I got up holding my aching back and cursing to myself, Chi was already fully dressed, looking at me with a beaming smile. "Wife, good morning." Seeing him in the room, I quickly put on my signature faint smile, preparing to say good morning to him, but what came out of my mouth was, "Good my ass, who's the one feeling good? Anyway, you don't even think to come give me a hand. My back hurts so much." My smile froze on my face instantly. It was a bit awkward. He raised an eyebrow, walked over, and sat down beside me. "Lie on your stomach, I'll give you a rub." Hesthus considerate. I was blooming with joy inside, but I still wanted to feign refusal for a bit. "How could I trouble you like this, my dear husband?" What came out in a strained voice was, "This is what I deserve." That's not what I meant to say. Would you believe me?" Before he could answer, I immediately covered my face, turned over to lie on my stomach, and kept my mouth shut, not saying another word. "I'm so screwed. It seems like I can't control my mouth." Chi's low chuckle came from behind me. How come I never noticed before that Gigi is such a straightforward person? I didn't answer him, my mind completely filled with, "This is so weird. What are you thinking about?" Chi slowly rubbed my lower back. Seeing I wasn't responding, he leaned down and asked close to my ear. The hot breath he exhaled sprayed onto my ear. It was ticklish. I turned over, wrapped my arms around his neck, and gave him a loud smooch. I was thinking, I'm done for. I think I've caught a disease where I can only tell the truth, no matter how I want to answer. What comes out of my mouth is always my truest thought. He gently caressed my forehead with his hand, a hint of curiosity flashing across his face. "Is that so? Then let me ask you, do you like me, or Jiang Yi?" Jiang Yi is also the young Marquis Jiang, and he grew up with us since we were little, but he and I never got along, we fought all the time, so I said without hesitation, of course I like you. He suddenly smiled, then he'll believe you. I was a little baffled, but didn't say anything. In our newlywed days, I was in a great mood and hooked my arm around his neck to ask, Qi Yi, why did it take you so long to marry me? He paused for a moment. Didn't you say you were too young, and doing that would hurt your body? My face flushed red, and I shrank into his embrace. Then you could have married me first, we just wouldn't have to do that. But, his forehead pressed against mine, his eyes full of tenderness and doting love. Gigi, I wouldn't be able to hold back. Aha! Fireworks were exploding in my head. He's so smooth. You're so bad. I couldn't help but punch him with my fist. I love it so much. Oops, I accidentally said it out loud again. I covered my mouth again. Chi pulled my hand away. Gigi, this is great. Just say whatever you want to say. Then he gave me a light peck on the lips. I like it very much, but I might easily offend people like this. Brother Yi, I blinked at him. With me here, you don't have to worry, he assured me. Get up. I'll take you to serve tea to our parents. Right. On the day after the wedding, you're supposed to serve tea to your parents-in-law. I sat up with a carp-like flip and hurriedly shooed Chi out. Wait for me outside. I'll be right there. He was a bit puzzled. Why do you want me to go out? Me, because I'm going to drink contraception soup behind your back. Him, see, I told you I easily offend people. Chi's face instantly darkened. His pitch black, deep eyes scrutinized me as he said through gritted teeth, Su Qingji, you'd better give me a reasonable explanation. I immediately went to hug his waist like a lackey. I promise I'll explain it clearly to you after we serve the tea. We're running out of time. Can we go serve the tea first? That was the truth. Although the Duke and Duchess of Jean had watched me grow up since I was little and had long treated me like their own daughter, I still couldn't break the rules. So in front of Qi, I took the dark-looking medicinal soup from Ding Xiang's hands and downed it in one go. So bitter my whole face wrinkled up. Though his face was stern, he still took a candied fruit from outside and stuffed it into my mouth. Hee, Yi Gij is the best, I cooed, pulling on his sleeve. Humph. He let out a cold snort from his nose. After washing up and getting dressed, Qi Yi and I hurried to the courtyard of the Duke and Duchess of Jean, one walking behind the other. I tried to hold hands with him several times, but he heartlessly shook me off. Fine, if you don't want to hold hands, then don't. Bad man, you pull up your pants and pretend you don't know me. See, men don't cherish you once they have you. Sigh, have I also given my heart to the wrong person? I was a little unhappy, muttering under my breath behind him the whole way. Finally, when we were almost at the Duke and Duchess of Jean's courtyard, he silently took my hand again. Our fingers intertwined. I petulantly tried to pull away, but couldn't break free. Stop fooling around, Gigi. I'm the one who's given my heart to the wrong person. My wife drank contraception soup in front of me on the second day of our marriage, and there's nothing I can do about her. He turned back to look at me and sighed helplessly, knowing I was in the wrong. I scooted closer to him with a grin. Hubby, cuddles. After arriving at the main hall, the two people sitting at the head seats watched us come in holding hands, both smiling from ear to ear. After serving tea to the two elders, I received 2 thick red envelopes. I originally thought a family like the Duke of Jean's residence would be like other families and give an heirloom bracelet or something. I didn't expect them to be so practical, which I really appreciate. Mother held my hand and asked caringly, Gigi, are you getting used to the food and living arrangements? If you need anything, just tell Mother. I nodded obediently, wanting to be polite. Everything is fine. There's nothing I'm not used to. But what came out of my mouth was, everything's alright. It's just that I don't sleep very well at night. Mother was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help but laugh out loud, patting my hand in delight. Ha ha ha. It's right that you're not sleeping well. I've been wanting to be a grandmother for a long time. Boo-hoo-hoo. I really want to dig a hole and bury myself in it. I didn't dare to respond to that, so I could only purse my lips, lower my head, and pretend to be shy. Fortunately, at this moment, a clear female voice came from the doorway. Gigi, you really became my sister-in-law. Everyone in the group looked towards the doorway, only to see Sister Qing striding in with her big belly, with the Crown Prince following by her side. Everyone in the room bowed to the two. Greetings, Crown Prince, Crown Princess. Qing married into the Eastern Palace at 16. The Crown Prince doted on her very much. Now she is 7 months pregnant, with twins, it's said, so her belly looks particularly large. The Crown Prince carefully supported his wife, nodding slightly at everyone. Sister Qiying pulled me over and placed a thick red envelope into my hand. Here, I wanted to come over yesterday, but the crown prince insisted there were too many people, afraid I'd get jostled, so I had to come back today. As she spoke, she shot the crown prince a glare. I was a bit dumbfounded. Why another red envelope? Seeing my dazed look, she supported her waist and teased, "What? Not satisfied? Not thick enough?" I shook my head. "It's thick, very thick. I'm just a little curious. Is giving red envelopes a tradition of the Duke of Jin's residence?" She pointed to Qiyi beside me. "There, my brother said it. He said you like more practical things, so we might as well stuff it with more banknotes." I suddenly understood, secretly hooking his finger and looking at him with smiling eyes. In front of his family, he didn't show the slightest hint of displeasure, lowering his eyes to meet mine, his eyes filled with tender affection. "Wait, Sister Qiying, I'm your sister-in-law, so it should be me giving you a first meeting gift." Holding Qiying's thick red envelope, I finally felt that something was not quite right. She gave me a cool glance. "Oh, give me a break. You married my brother and now you think you can walk all over me. In my eyes, you're still that little brat who used to come over to my place all day to freeload food and drinks." I waved my hands awkwardly, wanting to say, "Isn't that because I hit it off with the crown princess right away?" But what came out of my mouth was, "Isn't that because I had my eyes on your brother?" Her eyes widened. "So you really have been coveting my brother since we were kids?" I covered my mouth again. How forward of me. Because the crown prince and crown princess had arrived, we stayed in the main hall until we finished lunch before leaving. As soon as we got out, Qiyi wrapped his arms around my waist, scooped me up, and rushed towards our courtyard. I heard Sister Qiying shouting from behind us, in broad daylight, "You too, mind your public image." The crown prince carefully held her and said helplessly, "My dear lady, take it easy." After that, I couldn't hear anything anymore, because Qiyi was moving so fast. In the blink of an eye, I was already on the marriage bed. He pressed both my hands onto the bed, in a cabotin pose, and stared at me intently. "Confess and you will be treated with leniency." Countless possibilities probably flashed through his mind as he said with a hurt expression, "You don't like me, so you're unwilling to bear my children." I shook my head frantically. Finally, I confessed in a low voice, "I'm scared of pain, and I heard it's easy to die from childbirth here. I don't dare to have a baby yet. I want to wait until I'm a bit older to think about this." That's it. I raised my head to look at him. What else would it be? He pushed my head back down again. I thought, your concerns are valid. It was my own lack of consideration. Don't drink that kind of medicinal soup again. I'll find one for you that won't harm your body. I looked up in shock. That's it. He mimicked me. What else would it be? I mean, didn't people in ancient times value heirs very highly? Especially in a wealthy family like this. How could he agree so easily? What if I never have a child in my whole life? Will you take a concubine? He shook his head. If we don't have one, we can just adopt one. I promised you, one couple for a lifetime. How could I become that kind of dirty man? I laughed in his arms until my shoulders were shaking. This is all because I taught him well when we were kids. On the third day for the bridal homecoming visit, Qiyi prepared many things, but as soon as the homecoming banquet was over, my dear father and mother seemed to be in a hurry to send me away. I found out later that they had taken a horse carriage the very next day to travel and see the sights. It's true that a daughter married out is like water splashed out. On my wedding day, the two of them were crying and sniffling, saying they couldn't bear to part with me, and now they've already eagerly gone off to have their own fun. After returning to the manor and being all lovey-dovey with Qiyi at home for a few days, I finally couldn't take it anymore. My whole body felt like jelly. It's all thanks to this damn habit of telling the truth, which left me unable to get out of bed for several days straight. Qiyi's marriage leave ended, and he started attending morning court. I finally got back to a normal routine, no longer mixing up day and night, but before I could enjoy a few days of leisure, another edict came from the palace. Her Majesty the Empress invites the heir's consort to the palace for a chat. I had a rough idea why the Empress was looking for me, so I had Ding Xiang bring along some trinkets and hurried to the palace. This humble servant pays her respects to Her Majesty the Empress. The Empress, sitting in the seat of honor, smiled at me. "You may rise. There are no outsiders here." The third princess beside her saw me and ran over in just a few steps, tugging on my sleeve. "Gigi, I miss Gigi." Looking at the third princess' pure and innocent little face, I couldn't help but gently stroke her head. "Gigi misses the princess too." The Empress looked at her and said with some exasperation, "I wanted to let you enjoy your newlywed bliss for a few more days, but she kept pestering me about finding Gigi." so I had no choice but to call you over. Your Majesty, it's no trouble. You know I'm fond of the princess and am happy to come and keep her company. I gave the piggy doll I had commissioned long ago to the third princess. Her eyes lit up slightly. Gigi, like, with a smile on my lips, I sat on the carpet with the third princess, not caring about my image, as long as the princess likes it. The empress only has 2 biological children, the crown prince and the third princess. I have been the third princess' study companion since childhood. You could say we grew up together. The princess is naturally kind, well-behaved, and sensible, but ever since the third princess had her accident, there has been almost no one who genuinely socializes with her. The empress would look at her once clever and bright daughter, and be gloomy all day. I really felt for this girl, so I often dragged Sister Qiying to the palace to keep her company. Sister Qiying has a boisterous personality and a loud voice, and she would always scare the third princess to tears. Me, great company, don't ever do it again, but she would still follow me into the palace, and when she was in front of the third princess, that's when Sister Qiying's voice would be at its lowest. Gradually, the third princess began to say simple things, like, Gigi, Her Majesty the Empress was overjoyed, and in a moment of carelessness, she made me a commandery princess. When the noble ladies of the capital city heard there was such a good deal, they all fought to come and accompany the third princess, but they were all kicked out by the Empress. I heard Her Majesty the Empress, who was usually gentle and virtuous, say very crudely, "Pfft, how shameless, they're all a bunch of two-faced, opportunistic fence-sitters." I just gave Her Majesty the Empress a thumbs up. Well said. The Empress grew even closer to me. Besides keeping the third princess company, she would also have me snack on melon seeds and gossip with her. She even helped a lot with my marriage. She had originally intended for me to be the crown princess. I knelt on the ground with a thud and said I liked Qiyi. Liked him so much I'd go crazy for him, go wild for him, and bang my head against a wall for him. The Empress was moved by my sincere feelings, or perhaps she was truly afraid I would bang my head against a wall. With a wave of her hand, she bestowed a marriage upon Qiyi and me. It's just that Qiyi delayed the wedding for 2 years, until I turned 18, and the crown prince. He shyly held big sister Qiying's hand and came before Her Majesty the Empress. Mother Empress, your son wishes to marry a crown princess. The Empress, look at you, so promising. Gigi, is Qiyi good to you? The Empress chatted with me idly. I was teasing the third princess with a doll and nodded without hesitation. He's very good. In that case, how about letting Xianxia marry Qiyi as a cowwife? The doll in my hand fell onto the carpet with a thump. The third princess tilted her head to look at me, her face full of confusion. Gigi, I didn't dare to speak casually, for fear of losing my head, but the Empress didn't make a sound either, just sat there waiting for me to answer. Seeing I didn't speak for a long while, she sighed to herself and said, I am well aware that you and Qiyi are deeply in love and inseparable, but I truly can't bear to marry Xianxia off to another family. You genuinely treat Xianxia well, and she is close to you. Moreover, I've watched Qiyi grow up since he was a child. There is no one more suitable for Xianxia than him. I thought for a long time, and in the end, I knelt before her and said with a serious expression, my husband once said to me, in this life, I will be his only one. He will never take a concubine, let alone marry another. The Empress frowned. What man doesn't have multiple wives and concubines? For Xianxia to be an equal wife is already a compromise of her status. Don't be ungrateful. I continued to kowtow to her. Your Highness, I am unwilling. Why must your Highness marry the princess off? The princess has a noble status and position. No one would dare to gossip even if she lived in the palace for her entire life. It is not fair to her to be stuck between me and the heir apparent. It's true that I like the third princess, but I have my own selfish reasons too. I'm afraid that after the third princess gets involved, I will change. This is absolutely not what I want to see. After all, the third princess has never done anything wrong. Insolent. The Empress slammed the table, her face full of anger. The third princess was startled, and hurriedly hugged me, looking at the Empress with teary eyes. Mommy, don't be angry. Gigi, good. Xianxia. The Empress was furious. The third princess clearly sensed that the Empress was angry, but still stubbornly hugged me, refusing to let go. Gigi, I want Gigi. It would be a lie to say I wasn't moved. She's just a simple-minded child. What could she possibly understand? She only knew that I was good to her, so she liked me and protected me. She didn't even know why her mother Empress was angry. I patted the third princess' hand reassuringly, intending to coax her. Princess, Her Majesty the Empress is playing a game with me, but for a moment I forgot that I could only speak the truth. So Her Majesty the Empress saw me say to the third princess, "I'm arguing with your mom. Go play by yourself for a bit." "Okay, Empress." With tears welling in her eyes, the third princess looked at me in confusion upon hearing this. Arguing? I gave up and just nodded at her, carefully wiping the tears from her face with a handkerchief. "That's right. Arguing, princess. Go play by yourself first. I'll come play with you after I'm done arguing with Her Majesty the Empress." She didn't understand what arguing was, but she still let go of me, though she refused to leave my side. The two of us faced the Empress, one kneeling and one sitting. It was as if she was in a standoff with her. The Empress suddenly felt a bit heartbroken, turned her face away, unwilling to look at us, and seemed like she was about to cry. "Your Majesty, what do you think of Sister Qiying?" I slowly began to speak. She turned back again. "Qiying is naturally good. Why do you bring her up? The third princess is the crown prince's full sister, and Sister Qiying is the crown princess. Your Majesty should have faith in them. They will definitely treat the third princess extremely well. The princess is innocent and carefree. She should be well protected within the palace." She hesitated a little, but what woman doesn't get married? In the third princess situation, can you be at ease letting her marry out? She looked at me as if it were a matter of course. "That's why I want her to marry into your family." Me. Her Majesty is a real genius, no doubt about it. After a moment of silence, I continued, "Outsiders can't be relied upon, Your Majesty, and I am no exception. I cannot guarantee you that I can protect the third princess in the Duke of Jin's residence. What if I want to divorce Qiyi in the future? Who are you going to award the third princess to?" She looked shocked. "Are you a fool? Aren't you afraid that I will tell Qiyi?" I gave a sly laugh. "It's just a what if. Your Majesty, think carefully if it makes sense. Who can say for sure what the future holds? Only the crown prince and the crown princess have the greatest possibility of protecting her completely for her entire life." She was somewhat moved by what I said, opened her mouth as if to say something, but then held it back. In the end, she nonchalantly tossed a sentence at me. "Makes sense, but it's too late. I have already informed His Majesty of this matter. I'm afraid His Majesty is going to bestow a marriage upon the third princess and Qiyi, so it all depends on what Qiyi does now." I jerked my head up, anxious in my heart, my mouth again faster than my brain. "Your Majesty, you don't play by the rules." The Empress haughtily raised her head. "I am the Empress. What rules would I need to play by? Since you and Qiyi are devoted to each other, you should trust him." Me. "Thanks a lot." Her. "You're welcome." Seeing the atmosphere between us ease up, the third princess started giggling happily at us again. "Mom, good. Gigi, good." Sob sob. My adorable third princess. I stayed at Her Majesty the Empress place until it was almost time for the evening meal before returning to my residence. Her Majesty had originally tried to tempt me into staying with marinated noodles, dompa pork, braised pork knuckle, kasha fish fins, spicy rabbit, crispy goose feet, and so on. I swallowed hard, but still resolutely left. Whether I eat or not, it doesn't really matter. After all, whatever I want to eat, Qiyi can bring it to me. But if His Majesty the Emperor is to bestow a marriage today, with Qiyi's personality, he's probably going to get a beating, so I have to go back and console him. After returning to the residence, a servant told me Qiyi was in the study, so I rushed over without stopping. Qiyi had his head down, writing something. I went over, wrapped my arms around his neck, and pressed my face against his. "Husband, I missed you so much today." He chuckled, grabbed my arm, and pulled me into his embrace. I looked him up and down and asked curiously, "You didn't get beaten? Doesn't your butt hurt?" He gave my lips a light peck, rested his head on my chest, his voice soft and gentle. "I was beaten. His Majesty gave me 20 strokes with the paddle, and also punished me with confinement to reflect on my mistakes." "Then you're still hugging me. Quick, let me see." I hastily got up, pulled him to his feet, flipped up the hem of his robe, and made a move to pull down his pants. He desperately held on to his waistband. "Gigi, it's really nothing. His Majesty didn't have them hit hard." "I don't believe you. Let me see." I relentlessly continued to tug at his pants. As the two of us were struggling, a voice came from the doorway. "Young master, young mistress, you can have your..." Ding Xiang suddenly appeared, and after seeing what I was doing, she immediately changed her words. "It's also fine to have your meal a little later." Then she closed the door and quickly disappeared. "Ah, I forgot to close the door." "Ding Xiang, it's not what you think," I shouted toward the door. Ding Xiang's distant voice came over. "Miss, I get it all. Please continue." I looked up at Qiyi, and he was looking at me with a smile. Me, since the door's already closed, Not taking a look would really be letting the audience down. In the end, I pulled his pants off anyway. It was just a little red, still very white, not a big deal. Later, during our meal, I asked Qiyi what he said to His Majesty the Emperor. He said, "I won't allow anything that could possibly make Gigi unhappy to happen." I was really happy, and was a lot more passionate than usual at night. Qiyi nibbled my ear and said to me, "I really wish I could reflect on my misdeeds behind closed doors every day." Me, what a coincidence. Me too. About nearly 2 months later, a message came from the Eastern Palace. The Crown Princess was about to give birth. My mother and I rushed into the palace, and Her Majesty the Empress also hurried over with the third princess. Sister Qiying was having twins. Listening to her cursing His Highness the Crown Prince as a bastard from inside, I was very nervous, my palms sweating, terrified that something might go wrong with her. By dusk, the cry of a baby was finally heard from the inner chamber, and a few minutes later, there was another baby's cry. The midwife came out to announce the good news. It was 2 little imperial grandsons. I put my palms together. Thank heavens, Sister Qiying is safe and sound. At this moment, a handmaiden walked out of the inner chamber. "Young madam, the Crown Princess requests your presence." Calling me, I pointed at my nose, confirming. She curtsied to me. That's right. Although I didn't know why she was calling for me, I was also curious what the babies looked like, so I went in with her. Sister Qiying was lying weakly on the bed and pointed to the 2 babies in the wet nurse's arms. "Go quickly. Didn't you say that whoever a baby sees first right after they're born is who they'll look like? You're good looking. Quick, quick, quick. Let them see you first." Me, actually, newborn babies can't see people clearly, but I still walked over to the 2 little babies. They were so small, and looked very fragile. The third princess also came over, looking at the 2 babies with a curious face. I pointed at the 2 babies and said to her, "Princess, they're nephews." The third princess, Gigi. Me, no, it's nephews. Her, Gigi. Me, that works too. On the day the 2 little imperial grandsons had their full-month banquet, the Eastern Palace was decorated with lanterns and streamers. Full of joy, the 1-month-old babies were as exquisitely carved as jade, utterly adorable. Qiyi clumsily held his little nephew, unable to put him down. It was clear he liked him a lot. Sister Qiying bumped me with her shoulder. "When are you 2 going to have a child?" Qiyi immediately put down the baby in his hands, wrapped his arm around my waist, and said gently, "Gigi is still young. I can't bear to see her suffer. We'll talk about it later." Qiying rolled her eyes at him big time. "You're just a Zizaslave." He nodded very seriously. At the banquet, I ran into the first princess, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, ever since something happened to the third princess. The Empress has been suppressing Consort Lin both openly and secretly. Later, Consort Lin's maternal family embezzled military funds. The entire clan was exiled, and Consort Lin was thrown into the cold palace. I heard that after my dad found out about this, he was so angry he couldn't eat for 3 days, and Her Majesty the Empress was so happy she ate 3 extra big bowls of rice. She's always been one to hold a grudge, so she specially went to ask the first princess who she wanted for her prince consort. The first princess thought the Empress had let bygones be bygones and was even considering her lifelong happiness. She happily wrote a long list, full of all the fine young men in the capital city. Qiyi's name was at the very top. The Empress showed me the list and said gleefully, "You know, this Lu Rugia actually has pretty good taste." That list was later pulled out by Her Majesty the Empress many times to pick husbands for the other princesses. Only the first princess prince consort was not on that list. Her prince consort didn't come today, and the first princess attended the banquet with her hair full of jeweled hairpins, but I could tell that those hair ornaments were clearly styles from a few years ago. It seems that since the Lin family's downfall, her life hasn't been too easy either. We looked at each other from a distance. She looked at me, and then at Qiyi beside me. She actually gave me a look that said she was determined to win. Maybe it was a woman's sixth sense, but I suspected this gal was up to no good. Sure enough, just a few days after the banquet, I discovered my home had been stolen. I was happily doing my nails when Qiyi's personal attendant suddenly rushed into the courtyard, saying, "This is bad, Shitzi Fei. The Shitzi has been detained by the Grand Princess." What? I picked up the broadsword I hadn't used in ages and prepared to kill my way to the Grand Princess' residence, but I was stopped by the attendant at the door. "Shitzi Fei, this way. They're in the Prince Consort's private villa." Alrighty. I immediately did a 180-degree turn. After the attendant brought me to the private villa, the Grand Princess handmaidens were indeed standing guard at the entrance. Seeing me approach, she hurriedly blocked my path. My princess is resting inside. You're not allowed in. I gave her a cold glance, swung the broadsword in my hand, and advanced step by step toward the room inside. In the end, I cornered her in front of the door. She was so scared she plopped onto the ground and kept backing away. I paid her no more mind and gave the attendant beside me a look. The attendant immediately stepped forward and kicked the door open. The scene inside seemed a little different from what we had imagined. Chi sat at the desk, unhurriedly tidying up the hem of his clothes, and the eldest princess and the prince consort were hogtied and thrown on the bed. Even their mouths were gagged. Seeing that ID arrived, Chi quickly came over and took the large saber from my hand. Is it heavy? Gigi, don't wear yourself out. The eldest princess, however, glared at me furiously. What's going on? I asked. Chi pointed at the two people on the bed. They both suck but love to play, can't even beat me in a fight, and they still wanted to drug me. Luckily I listened to Gigi, and never drink things given by strangers. As it turned out, after Chi left court, the prince consort happened to run into him on the road, saying he had something to ask for advice on. Worried that he wouldn't be willing to go to the eldest princess' residence, he even specially brought him to a separate courtyard, and prepared drugged tea to serve him, while the eldest princess waited in another room. Chi played along with their plan, and after the two thought he was knocked out, he did a kip-up and tied them both up together. I know the prince consort has a cowardly nature, and he puts the eldest princess first in everything. Whether the eldest princess was keeping male consorts or visiting male brothels, he pretended not to see any of it, but I never would have thought that he would help the eldest princess tie someone up. Chi handed my knife to a servant boy, preparing to drag me into the palace to report me. In the spirit of if you're angry, let it out on the spot. I leaned close to the eldest princess' ear and said viciously, you just wait. I'm not going to let you off. She seemed to be speechless, unfazed by my elementary schooler-like statement, and even gifted me an eye roll, but she didn't know that whatever comes out of my mouth is definitely not a lie. After Chi and I entered the palace, we split up. One went to find His Majesty the Emperor, and the other went to find the Empress. The final result was that the eldest princess and the prince consort happily landed themselves a 1-month confinement. Oh, right. It was originally supposed to be 3 months, but Her Majesty the Empress reminded me that the annual women's martial arts tournament is in 1 month, and that I absolutely must not miss this opportunity. I nodded vigorously. Rest assured, Your Majesty, I will definitely give her a few extra punches for the third princess. The women's martial arts tournament is a competition held inside the palace. The late empress was a respected great general who died in battle for the country on the frontier. To commemorate her, this competition has been held in the palace ever since she passed away. Daughters of high officials and nobles aged 24 and under are all eligible to participate. I wasn't interested in this competition before. For one, I wasn't interested in the prize, and for another, Chi had said he likes delicate types, but this year is different. The eldest princess wins first place almost every year, and she's nearing the age limit. This is her last time participating in the competition, and what's more, the prize is a long spear she's had her eye on for a long time. If I miss this chance to beat her up fair and square, I'd probably sit bolt upright in my grave and slap myself twice, saying with regret, I really deserve to die. A month passed in a flash, and the day of the competition arrived. On the north side of the arena sat the empress and a group of consorts, while the outside was packed with many young ladies. The eldest princess, as in previous years, stood in the center of the arena, fighting them one by one as they came. What a magnificent sight. Although it's said there are no distinctions of status once on the arena, she was a princess after all, so those ministers' daughters didn't dare to truly lay a hand on her, and would usually just go up to go through the motions. Sigh, this is so boring. After the eldest princess knocked the 10th noble lady off the stage, no one else dared to come forward. Just as the referee was about to declare her this year's champion, I slowly raised my Urkong hand. Hold on. Under everyone's gaze, I leisurely strolled onto the ring. The third princess, sitting next to Her Majesty the Empress, cheered joyfully. Gigi, go for it. The eldest princess stood opposite, looking at me with contempt. Su Qingji, it's not too late for you to surrender now, otherwise don't blame this princess for being impolite. I had a smile on my face, and gave her a very polite bow. Greetings, eldest princess, this humble servant. My apologies for the offense. In a flash, I kicked the long spear out of the eldest princess' hands. Then with a little hook of my foot, I tripped her to the ground. Next, I twisted her hands behind her back, sat my butt down on her, my knees pressing down hard on her arms, and my feet forcefully locking her thighs. The whole series of moves was as smooth as flowing water, leaving her completely unable to budge. Next, my performance will begin. I uppercut, body blow, left hook, right hook, grab her ears and grunt 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 as I lean back. This is a spider eating earwax. Raise my palm and slap her 8 times left and right. This is an angry octopus. I jump up and forcefully sit on her again. This is a beauty riding an airplane. Wielding my hand like a knife, I frantically and forcefully chop her back. This is a giant axe chopping a big tree. The eldest princess cursed angrily under me. Let me go if you have any guts. Oh, alright then. I let her go and stood up, dusting off my sleeves. She staggered to her feet with a red, swollen face, and once she was steady, she started threatening me again. You're finished. This princess is going to kill you. Thud. It was the sound of the eldest princess falling off the arena stage. Ikaketer. Villains often die from talking too much, and the eldest princess seems to have forgotten who my dad is. How could I not have learned martial arts? This is the elephant kick, I muttered to myself, then turned my head and smiled at the referee. Can you announce the results now? She clearly hadn't recovered from the shock yet, and after hearing my words, she hurriedly nodded. Yes. The champion of this year's women's martial arts tournament is the Crown Prince's consort. The third princess was dancing with joy below the stage, her sparkling eyes looking at me. Gigi, awesome. Her Majesty the Empress also gave me the award with a beaming smile. I gave that long spear to the third princess. Princess, Gigi will do her best to protect you for a lifetime. She happily hugged the long spear. Gigi, good. After the competition ended, the eldest princess recuperated from her injuries for a while in her mansion. My glorious tales of my exploits in the ring spread throughout the capital city. During this time I asked Qi, I'm not delicate anymore. Do you still love me? He pressed my head into his chest. When I was 10, I saw you at 5, straddling the back of 7-year-old Jiang Yi and beating the crap out of him. Truly, it was adorable as hell. It was only then that I belatedly realized that my true colors had been exposed long ago. Her Majesty the Empress would summon me into the palace from time to time, worried I would be retaliated against by the eldest princess, giving her absolutely no opportunity to find fault with me. As the new year approached, Consort Lin in the cold palace was suddenly executed. The eldest princess was also demoted to a commoner, and the prince consort very quickly divorced her. I was very surprised, and Her Majesty the Empress secretly told me that she had an affair with a guard and had a child, which was reported to His Majesty the Emperor by the Imperial Medical Department. His Majesty the Emperor was furious, and straight up sent her to her death with a cup of Headinghong. Emperors are paranoid. He also summoned the eldest princess to the palace to perform a blood paternity test, but their blood wouldn't merge at all. I know there's no scientific basis for this, but if His Majesty the Emperor doesn't acknowledge her, she's no longer a princess. It's been a few years since I married Qi, but there has been no good news. Mother doesn't know the reason why, and she's afraid I'll get anxious and sad. She even comforted me, saying that this kind of thing can't be rushed, and what's meant to be will be. But in private, she secretly found a famous doctor to check on Qi's body. After Qi told me about this, I laughed so hard I couldn't stand up straight, until I received the letter from my own mother. Su Qingji, are you incapable? I told you to eat less raw and cold food and to take good care of your body, but you just wouldn't listen. I found a master gynecologist for you in Jiangnan. He'll be in the capital in a few days. Make sure you take your medicine properly. He chuckled softly, lightly pinching my face. Got scolded by mother-in-law. Huh, and you still laugh at me. You know best in your heart whether I'm capable or not. I thought for a long time, and in the end, I stopped the medicinal soup. Then let's just let nature take its course. At the start of spring, I and elder sister Qiying took the third princess out of the palace to play together. On the way, we met a woman begging on the side of the street. After seeing us, that woman lowered her head so low it was almost buried in the ground, but both sister Qiying and I recognized her. That was the former eldest princess. We had only intended to walk past without acknowledging each other, as a way to spare her some dignity. However, when the third princess passed by her, she crouched down, placed the tonghulu in her hand and the pouch she carried into the bowl in front of her, and gently called out, "Sister." Without waiting for her to answer, the third princess stood up and took my hand. "Gigi, let's go." I nodded and continued to pull her forward. Before we entered a jewelry shop, I turned my head and glanced back at the eldest princess. She clutched the purse tightly in her hand, dazedly bit off a piece of tonghulu, and suddenly fell to the ground, wailing loudly. I think at that moment, she must have regretted pushing the third princess into the pond back then. Butsohat. Not all wrongdoings can be forgiven. Chi-yes extra. I am 9-year-old Chi-yi. Today a mischievous and quirky little girl came to the royal study hall. She was super duper cute. She would even hug my pant leg. Acting cute and asking for a hug. Calling me brother Yi over and over. She's really way too cute. I wish she was my little sister. I don't want Chi-ying anymore. I am 12-year-old Chi-yi. Gigi sticks to me every day. And they're all so envious. She's really so much fun. She wants to taste the fruit on the trees. She wants to eat the shrimp in the river. And often gets punished by the teacher with copying lines for secretly sleeping in class. Forget the fruit on the trees. I can even pluck the stars from the sky for her. She's only 7. How can she grow if she doesn't get enough sleep? The teacher is so mean. I have a lot of homework. But Gigi says her hand is sore. So I guess I'll help her with her copying first. Chi-ying says I have to copy hers too. I went straight to mother and told her she was drawing turtles in class. Now she has another thing to copy. She finally stopped bothering me. Seriously, I haven't even finished copying for Gigi yet. I am 15-year-old Chi-yi. Today, the eldest princess pushed the third princess into the pond, and Gigi saw it. There was no one else around at the time. So Gigi jumped in without a second thought and rescued the third princess. When I rushed over after my equestrian archery class, I only saw the eldest princess pointing the long spear at her. The third princess was lying on the ground, motionless. My heart tightened. I didn't dare make a rash move. I never hit girls. But if the eldest princess long spear dared to move forward even an inch, I might beat her to death. The eldest princess asked Gigi to keep it a secret for her, and Gigi agreed without any hesitation. I was a bit confused. Gigi isn't that kind of person. Then the eldest princess left, carrying the long spear. Gigi was anxiously pressing on the third prince's chest, then pinched the third princess' nose, and leaned down to go mouth to mouth with her. I was dumbfounded. I even forgot to send someone to call for the third princess handmaiden. How could Gigi take advantage of her predicament to take liberties with the third princess? She has never even taken liberties with me. I saw Gigi take liberties with her several times, and continued pressing on her chest. The third princess finally spat out all the water and came to. Only then did I realize that Gigi was saving her. The third princess people came looking for her and hurriedly took her away. Gigi was left shivering from the cold. I immediately rushed over, took off my fox fur cloak, and covered her with it. Then I carried her out of the palace, got on the carriage and sent her back to the general's manor. The next morning, I told the crown prince about this matter. When the crown prince and I rushed to Her Majesty the Empress Palace, Gigi was already inside making her complaint. Inuit. Gigi isn't that kind of person, but it seems the third princess has fallen completely ill. She and Gigi have always been good friends. Gigi is very sad. I am the 17-year-old Chi-yi. Today is Chi-ying's comingafage ceremony, so I won't make her unhappy. But someone pissed me off. That bad woman, the eldest princess, cornered me in the pavilion, saying she wants to make me her prince consort. A moldy grape, with a belly full of foul water. Prince consort. Yeah right. Pfft. I saw Gigi hiding there and eavesdropping. Stay away from me, 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 stay away from me. I'm afraid Gigi will misunderstand. Gigi was discovered by the eldest princess. She pointed her long spear at Gigi again. Damn it. Oh my god. Gigi got scared and cried. So pitiful. I quickly pulled her behind me. The eldest princess was furious. But what the hell does it have to do with me? The sun is so strong today. I hope my Gigi doesn't get sunburned. The eldest princess pushed Gigi down and even poured tea on her. Zitzi's hand got hurt, and she said the tea was so cold. I exploded, swept Gigi up in my arms, and went to the courtyard to apply medicine. Gigi suddenly asked if I would marry her. I will. I totally will. But she's still young. I'm afraid of scaring her. I want to wait until her comingafage ceremony to talk about it. My mind was so full of marrying her in the future that I didn't listen carefully to what she asked me. I only heard her say something. Okay, I'm very delicate. Without even thinking, I replied, okay, whatever Gigi says, is good. It's just, what does delicate mean? I don't really understand. I am the 20-year-old Chi-yi. For some reason, these past few years Gigi has been like a sickly beauty, like Shishir. She always acts all coy whenever she sees me, but I like her no matter how she is. She came of age this year, so I secretly asked her if she wanted to marry her big brother Yi. She joyfully said yes, but she also shyly said that if a girl gets intimate too early, it's not good for her body. I fled from the general's manor with my face beat red. she's so bold, to dare say such a thing to me, as expected of my Gigi. Then I'll just wait a few more years to marry her. She'll be mine sooner or later anyway. I'm 21. And I still haven't married Gigi. Mother showed me many portraits of women to choose from, but none of them were as good-looking as even one of Zitzi's fingers. Luckily, the Empress suddenly decreed a marriage for me and Gigi. I'm so happy. Gigi said she wants one couple for a lifetime. Of course I'll agree. I see all living beings as grass and trees. Only when I see her do I see the green mountains. 22. Still haven't married Gigi. I'm so anxious. 23. I have a wife now. She wore a phoenix coronet and red robe, her dark eyebrows lightly painted, her vermilion lips subtly dotted, so charming it was unreal. I looked very calm, but in reality, my heart was beating like crazy. I will be with her for a long time. It's not that I want to, it's that I will.